So hello everyone, good evening. So we are back today with this wonderful session on ethics case studies. Okay, so we'll take it live. So as we all are doing from time since that we will discuss about some of the important case studies. So we have taken 10 case studies as of today. So we will be taking some of the more case studies in your upcoming test series as well as also your upcoming short video series where we will take some of the 30 video series right from 20th of this month. Okay, so we'll start this session of today's as by the questions that we have been supplied with in the morning time. Okay, so let's start with today's one. So hope I will not read the whole question, okay, because I have been, that is in my concern, it has been said that probably you have read this question well and then only you are coming over here to analyze the discussions. Okay, so therefore please read this question first, okay, and then go through the video to understand about the various issues that has been involved under this particular case study. Okay, so let's start with this one, okay, because it's a long question, therefore I am not studying it well. Okay, anyways, so according to this question, it has been asked, what do you think about such situations, short-term and the long-term solutions, and also some of the potential benefits of this policy making planning process. Okay, so in this scenario, if I have to go for the very first one, because in this particular question it has been asked about a decision that you need to take, okay, because you are the head of a policy think tank. Just analyze yourself to be one of the policy think tank. It may be the policy think tank like the Finance Commission, the Niti Aayog. Okay, so you are basically a think tank. Okay, so decisions bilak lua jai. Okay, so you are directly the head. Supposedly you may be the chairman. Okay, you may be the head of that political policy think tank. So ek kotha kini yate amar discuss kora goise. So therefore you have to see that you are the head of the policy think tank and there is a proposal to cut down more than 10,000 trees. Okay, residential colony ase ekida amar facts hoy. So I hope you all have gone through this particular facts. And now, what do you think about such situation arise in the first place, where development activities and environmental concerns often come out as anti-ethical to each other? Second, what should be the short-term and the long-term solutions? Third, potential benefits out of this particular planning process. So, here a brief introduction to Dilola about the scenario. So, the scenario at hand is an example of development versus what? It is versus environment. Because at some point of time, to go forward with the development scenarios today in our country, we have to go for the environmental destruction. Kisuman khetrot, it is supposedly, if I say about Guwahati only, to construct the bridges and even to construct the 4 lanes highways, okay, we are cutting down trees. I mean tree cut kodiye. Yes, that is very certain. We are cutting down trees just to make way for the 4 lane as well as various number of bridges that we are basically aiming to construct within the city. So it was our important aspect. So therefore, this is directly a clash between what? This is directly a clash between development as well as environment. And therefore, in this instance, I can say 10,000 trees will be removed in order to build a residential community for a city's homeless population. And the city has seen harsh climatic events and has already lost more than half of its green cover, which is the problem. And in this regard, it is expected of the leader of the policy think tank to clearly state the argument for improved understanding of citizens and policymakers. And therefore, he or she must be able to point out the problems to the interested parties and empower them to make an informed choice. So therefore, you have to briefly introduce about the facts of the case that has been given to you in this particular case study. So that is very important for your particular understanding, and this is the main core concept that you need to take ahead in this particular case study. So I made a brief introduction with the question number 1. That is the A question. So the reasons for occurrence of such situations are what? Situations to ahile jot ami trees katibo laga hoise. It is the first one is the lack of planning. Planning na. Today we can see that majority of the cities of our country, majority of the cities, leave aside Chandigarh. Okay, it's a planned city. Gole bhal lagi jabo bonto. But I cannot expect this to be Guwahati. I cannot expect this to be Delhi. I cannot expect this to be Kolkata. I cannot expect this to be Mumbai. I cannot expect to be Bengaluru. I cannot expect all such things. So all are unplanned cities. And therefore we have seen a good number of urban problems in this particular cities. So therefore here the first aspect of this question is the lack of planning. And the first ahile. Second ki ahibo? Second ahile lack of knowledge and attention to the negative effects of climate changes. Today we have seen that there are various number of negative challenges that we are directly facing it from the environment. As the environmental falor pora ami bahut kini negative challenges ami face koru. But these are given least importance. The importance are given very less. And therefore at such scenarios we can directly say that since the importance are given less, therefore at some point of time I can directly say that if these problems are directly going to lead to a problem of earthquake, it may be a problem of erosion, it may be a problem of landslides, all such number of natural calamities, then obviously it will impact the state, it will impact the city because of its unplanned nature. So hetu karone yata ahi jay the lack of knowledge and attention to the negative effects of the climate change begins. We are not bothered about the environmental impact assessment. We are not directly going to sustainable change of our respective areas. So etu ahile amar second pointer. Okay, no doubt you have to define a bit. Okay, more basic definition of jwana. I am just going with the main points. Then lack of appreciation of the role played by the ecological factors in well-being of the city. So here you have to say about the role played by the ecological factors. What are the ecological factors that can be seen? Excessive population pressure. One of the changes. Supposedly today if I say about Joshimath, what is the reason why Joshimath is failing today as a township? Jot manu lage 1000 tat manu ase lakh. Jot manu ase 1 lakh tat manu ase 10 lakh. So obviously pressure poribo na pore? Poribo. And this pressure is basically seen in this particular context. So a bostu to amar ahi jay yate the lack of appreciation that the role played by the ecological factors in the well-being of the city. Okay, next ye ahi jay building new infrastructures. So today because of the development, because of the overpopulation, slowly and slowly we can see that these phenomena are directly getting in rise. That is infrastructure building. Infrastructure building basic hoye ase. And when I say about infrastructure building, I am referring to every forms of infrastructures, be it roads, be it railways, be it buildings, be it flats, okay, be it any other communicative materials that are needed for the people, for the population, for the citizens. These are directly coming under infrastructures. Even towers, infrastructures. Okay, so therefore, etu karno eta directly eta ami impact dekha pao to have disbalance with the environment. Etu ami dekha pao maybe. Tarpor ahe standard of living. So today city is being seen as a place of improving the standard of living, and this again requires creation of new infrastructure causing pressure on the environment. I can directly say that city ki hoye ase. Cities are basically having a good population, and cities are obviously ki bhabi ase manne. Cities of manne bhabe as a cities will jao more standard of living to bahi jabo. I will eat good food, I will eat good water, I will get some clean water, I will get some posh life. Okay, I will go for every other activities that are needed basically in the society, which is directly maintaining my standards. A bostu bila manhora. Cities benefits are good, so a factors bilake amak determine kore the cost or even the standard of living, and therefore people are today more and more migrating towards the cities in search of employment opportunities, in search of the better standard of living. So ekhini amar first jitu amar section A question asile ekhini bostu tumaloke likhi dia, that will be more than sufficient for you. Second, if I say about the short term solutions, jitu amar second question is short term solutions. So the decision to select a settlement site must be taken after due consideration of all factors. Alternative site must be exhausted where where threat to environment is least. So yete alternative site tar kotha koi ase. So etu short term decision. Okay, jetia lage amar hekini bostut bhalke analysis complete nohoy ami beleg era jaga sabo paru. Tasol koise temporary relocation. Relocate the homeless by building temporary accommodation such as dormitories. হাত সাত বনাই দি পেলাই অকমান কেদিনমানৰ কাৰণে থাকিবলৈ আমি তেনেকুৱা টাইপৰ সিচুৱেশ্যন এটা দিব পাৰো ইয়াত। ওকে, সো এটা শৰ্ট টাৰ্ম সলিউশন। তাৰপিছত more generous floor space index norms to incentivize vertical development of city rather than horizontal development. Okay, এনেকে বাহাতকে যদি আমি এনেকে বাঢ়ি যাওঁ ওপৰলৈ, horizontal development যদি আমি বাদ দি পেলাই vertical development কৰি দিওঁ, ওপৰলৈ গৈ থাকো, then obviously space বেছি ওলাব। এটো মই কোৱা নাই যে ওপৰলৈ বেছি গৈ থাকিলে obviously the structure also needs to be developed strong, but ইমানখিনি আমাৰ টেকনলজি আছে, so ইয়াত সেইটো কথা কৈছে। So if you have to get more generous floor space index which is incentivizing vertical development of city rather than horizontal development may be thought about some scenarios. এটা সিনাৰিঅত ভাবিব পাৰোঁ, তেতিয়া আমি বহুতখিনি পপুলেছ তাতে আমি এটা সৰু জেগাতে একোমোডেট কৰিব পাৰোঁ ইনষ্টেড অফ গোয়িং ফৰ হৰাইজনেল ডেভেলপমেণ্ট। ঠিক আছে, তো এইকেইটা আছিলে আমাৰ শৰ্ট টাৰ্ম সিচুৱেশ্যনছ। অ'কে, দেন আৰু দুটামান আছে, কোঅৰ্ডিনেশ্যন বিটুইন মিউনিচিপাল অথৰিটি এণ্ড দ্য ফৰেষ্ট ডিপাৰ্টমেণ্ট টু ইমপ্লিমেণ্ট প্ৰপাৰ ডিজাইন টু সেভ এজ মেনি ট্ৰিজ এজ পচিবল, সেভিং ফিউ ট্ৰিজ ফ্ৰম বিং ফেল ডাউন। এইটো আমি কৰিব পাৰোঁ, কোনকেইটা ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট ট্ৰিজ হয় সেইকেইটা ৰাখি পেলাই বাকীবিলাকক আমি কাটি দিলে, বা তেনেকুৱা টাইপৰ আমি এটা যদি চিটুৱেশ্যন বনাই লওঁ দুটা ডিপাৰ্টমেণ্টৰ কোঅপাৰেশ্যনত। Then compensatory afforestation, which is known as CAMPA. A funds must be done using the right policies of the trees. Okay, so এইবিলাক আমি যাব লাগে যে যোনকেইটা আমি স্পেচিফিক ট্ৰিজ আমি বচাব লগা আছে সেই বচোৱা ট্ৰিজকেইটাক আমি লৈ পেলাই বাকীবিলাক ট্ৰিজক আমি এভইড কৰিব পাৰোঁ। So these things can be done. Then reform the Rent Control Act along the lines of Model Tenancy Act. Okay, so এইটো বেসিক্যালি কৈছে এখন এক্টৰ কথা which is known as the Tenancy Act. So কেনেকৈ ভাড়া দিব লাগে, কেনেকৈ কি প্ৰকাৰত ভাড়া দিব লাগে, কি ধৰণে ভাড়া দিব লাগে, কিমান চাৰ্জ কৰিব লাগে, এই বস্তুটোৰ কথা ইয়াত অকমান কৈ দিছে। ওকে, সো ইউ ক্যান ইনক্লুড দিস, ইউ মে নট ইনক্লুড দিস। মই ইনক্লুড কৰিছো বিকজ ইটস আ মডেল আনসাৰ। ইউ মে ইনক্লুড দিস, ইউ মে নট ইনক্লুড দিস, দ্যাট ইজ নট ভেৰি এসেনশিয়াল ইন দিস পাৰ্টিকুলাৰ কনটেক্সট। তাৰপিছত লং টাৰ্ম সলিউশনছ কি, প্ৰপাৰ প্ল্যানিং কৰিব লাগিব, তেতিয়াহে আমি ইন দ্য ফিউচাৰ যদি আজি এনেকুৱা টাইপৰ সিচুৱেশ্যন আকৌ আহি যায় then it becomes very much difficult for us to tackle down, so proper planning কৰিব লাগিব। তাৰপিছত introducing environmental accounting practices so that negative effects of environmental destruction cannot be measured, এইটো এটা কৰিব লাগিব। Then you can see compulsory afforestation drives must be undertaken by various public and private sectors to replenish the lost green cover. য'ত কাটি দিয়া গৈছে সেইবিলাক জেগাত আমি গ্ৰীণ কভাৰটো वापस আনিবলৈ আমি কি কৰিব লাগিব? Obviously we will directly go for some form of development scenario in this particular context, আমি কৰিব লাগিব কাম কিছুমান। তাৰপিছত freeing up of excess land held by the government, PSUs etc. So as recommended by NITI Aayog, it will help in developing low cost housing for the poor. Okay, so ইয়াতে আমি কিছুমান স্টেপস ল'ব লাগিব। সাপোজলি যিবিলাক এক্সেস ল্যান্ড আছে যিবিলাক গভৰ্ণমেণ্টে ৰাখি থৈ দিছে as recommended by NITI Aayog, it will help in developing low cost housing for the poor. সেইবিলাক জেগা আমি কাক দিব পাৰো? পোৰক দিব পাৰো, low cost development। okay, তাৰপিছত development of the wasteland cities sites for urban infrastructure, যিবিলাক আমাৰ এৰিয়াছ সাপোজলি মই কোৱা নাই যে যিবিলাক এৰিয়াছ হলে আমাৰ জংগল হয়, ওকে, যিবিলাক এৰিয়াত কোনো প্ৰডাকশন নাই, না তাতে স্পেসিফিক ট্ৰি আছে, ওয়াইল্ড গ্ৰাসেস গজি আছে, সেই জেগাবিলাক আমি ইউটিলাইজ কৰিব পাৰো ফৰ প্ৰপাৰ সেটেলমেন্ট অফ দিস পিপল হু বেসিক্যালি ওয়ান্ট the settlement of their respective households. তো সেইবিলাক জেগা আমি চাব পাৰো for the longer term. So এইবিলাক আমাৰ short term আৰু long term কিছুমান solutions আছে। তাৰপিছত third part of question to যেটা মই কম, that is the advantage of incorporating environmental issues into policy making. এটো আমি কি কৰিব লাগিব? Sustainable development first process. Without sustainably developing your respective environment, taking into consideration about the environmental concerns, you cannot expect to grow in a very better way in this particular earth system, because once you are impacting the earth system, obviously at some point of time the earth will directly give you back. earth কিন্তু পিছত আকৌ বেয়াকে দি দিয়ে আমাক। okay, so হেইটো আমি কৰিব নালাগিব। so at some point of time you have to think about the environmental impact assessment and also you have to think about the sustainable developmental context. এই বস্তুটো আমাৰ ইয়াতে আহি যায় in this particular area. next, if you have to see about this one, reduce the impact of extreme weather events. So as seen in many cities, the Chennai flood was caused by unplanned urbanization. Already মই এটা বলবে, the planning is very poor in today's cities, and I can guarantee you that if I say that 100 or out of 100 cities, hundreds are unplanned, it is very much correct in the Indian context. আৰু এটো কাৰণে কি হৈছে? Obviously we can see various number of urban problems in the society today. So a factor to yate ahi jai about the minimizing the, or you can say about the reducing the impact of extreme weather events which may leads to clogging of the urban areas. That's what to say, minimizing the negative effects on communities whose way of life depends on the forest and tree over. So আজি যিবিলাক মানুহে থাকিব বিচাৰিছে, mainly the tribals, okay, mainly the indigenous peoples who basically wants to remain in the respective forested areas, even they should not be harmed down well. Okay, তেখেতসকলৰ সহায় লৈ পেলাই আমি বহুতখিনি ৰেভলিউশ্যন আনিব পাৰোঁ ফৰ এনভাইৰনমেণ্টেল safety. তো এই বস্তুখিনি আমি আনিব পাৰোঁ with this people. Then low greenhouse gas emissions, which are the woods are the main repositories of the greenhouse gases like the CO2. এইটো কৰিব পাৰোঁ. Then reduction in the number of environmental protests, which are on the rise as a result of the negative effects they are having on the community. For instance, residents of a colony in the capital recently protested the government decision to cut down trees, forest development. So এইবিলাক যাতে নহয়, even there are various number of protests that has been taken, আৰু এইবিলাকৰ আমাৰ আজি নতুন বস্তু নহয়. Okay, even if I say about the Chipko movement, Apigo movement, এইবিলাক কি আছিল? It is basically something which is related to not cut down the tree for a rapid urbanization or rapid development. So এইখিনি যদি তোমালোকে points লিখি দিয়া and with a 2 to 3 lines of explanation, I can guarantee you that you will score some of the maximum marks out of this first case study. Okay, chalo. Moving to the second one. Okay, so you are the young athletes. Okay, India at the international level, during the competition you witness a few scenarios rejecting some. So it is basically saying about the doping case. Okay, it is doping or issue lo asile. Okay, they explain this is a performance enhancing drug which is a common in such competitors, as you should take the same as well. You are in fear, decide to approach the coach to discuss the event. However, you get to know that the athletes are taking the drugs at the at the advice of the coach himself. So what did you do in this scenario? First of all, he said, that's what discuss options ko borise. Okay, or kundu course of action to be loba. Why do you think use of unfair means to enhance performance is common in competitive sporting event? How can this practice be minimized? Okay, ki lobo para or ki karne etu karne ki koribo para, etu the question yate korise. So the case study is a classic example of an ethical conflict involving methods versus ends. Okay, moi kundu method loi asu aru moi result to ki pai asu. So methods versus end. Okay, so drug use during competitions makes a mockery of the event. Okay, so what is the issues with this case? Issue with the case mane legality issues ase. Okay, so yate duta bostu ahi jay legality WADA aru NADA. WADA to ki hoy World Anti-Doping Agency aru etu amar National Anti-Doping Agency. Okay, এই দুটা বস্তু হৈছে WADA আৰু NADA. এই দুটা আমাৰ লিখিব লাগিবই. It is very important. Without this, okay, this question is totally invalid. Okay, so এই বস্তু আহি যায় ইয়াতে. Then, as of one of the top 10 countries in the last few years for breaking WADA's anti-doping rules, India's reputation may become even more tarnished. কাৰণ ইণ্ডিয়াৰ এটা ৰেকৰ্ড আছে এইবিলাক ইনজেকশ্যন পুsh কৰা, এইবিলাক ইনজেকশ্যনছ ইউজ কৰাৰ এইবিলাক এটা ৰেকৰ্ড আছে. So এই বস্তুটো আমি অলপ কণ্ট্ৰল কৰিব লাগিব. So therefore we need to control this particular acts and this should be done at a very faster rate. আৰু তেতিয়াহে আমি দেখিম যে we can see such number of things are directly going out in the proper process, that is mainly the sporting events. Okay, তাৰপিছত lack of knowledge or a carefree attitude, okay, on the part of the athletes regarding the consequence of using such medications, unethical behavior encouraged by the coach. এজন কোচে এইবিলাক কেতিয়াও প্ৰমোট কৰিব নালাগিছিলে, এইবিলাক বস্তু কেতিয়াও তেখেতক কোভা নিদিয়ে. ওকে, তেখেতে অবভিয়াছলি এইবিলাক বস্তু কেতিয়াও ইউজ কৰিব নালাগিছিলে. মেবি নিজৰ টাইমতো তেখেত ইউজ কৰিয়ে নিজৰ কিবা ফিট achieve কৰিছে. So all these complexities may be there in this particular case. So in such a scenario, I will first clear my concerns regarding any doubts about following the advice of the athletes or the coach. This might be against my value system imbibed in me by my parents as well as my coach. So following in the footsteps of my senior athletes is not an option for me. Obviously will not go. Okay, so তুমি যদি বেয়া কাম এটা যদি promote কৰি আছা, then obviously you are totally in an unethical part. So you have to follow the ethical part. Okay, you have to follow your morality. You have to follow your reasoning ability. So at that point of time, I can directly say you are following even your aptitude. So এইবিলাক লাগিব. Okay, so therefore without this you cannot go ahead with an unethical practice like this. So এইটো কৰিলা. So other options available to me are option 1 কি আছে? Warn the athletes or coach against using such drugs in the future. মই warn কৰিব পাৰোঁ যে এইবিলাক কাম নকৰিব. এইবিলাক কাম কৰিলে ৰিজাল্টটো বেয়া ওলাব. The methods or the method is very poor or very bad. Maybe the result will be good, but it is not a long-term result. It may hamper you within the coming years to play. So therefore, this should not be done. So here the merits ki hobo gives a choice to the fellow athletes before complaining. Resolution of the issue at the team level. Tate solve hoye jabo. Demerits ki hobo? Warning may not be taken seriously. Kunanu lobo. Coach, because you are a junior, tumar senior kori ase, to senior ko eneo patta nahi di. Coach may punish me on the disciplinary grounds to silence me. Doping may get detected if they participate in the competition and unfair competition. So obviously you have got more demerits as compared to your merit system. Then you can see about the second option, complain directly to the higher authorities accompanying the contingent. Okay, so yate merits ase, fair competition, higher authorities may appreciate the swiftness of my complaint. Demerits, no chances to the authorities or coach to explain their actions. Innocent athletes may get framed as well. Higher officials may also be involved along with the coach. যদি কোচে সাপোর্ট কৰি আছে হায়াৰ অফিচিয়েলছ ইনভলভ হ'ব পাৰে সো এইটো এটা কনটেক্সটত ইয়াতে সিচুৱেচনটো আহি যায় ওকে তাৰপিছত আমাৰ আহি যায় অপচন 3 complain after the competition is over merits performance of the team will not be affected in the competition provides ample time for assessment of my options demerits athletes or coach may deny the wrongdoings non resolution of my fear and conscience crisis during the competition doping may get detected which will tarnish India's image globally okay so if anyone can come up with people who are basically viewing me okay so jodi tumaloke mok ko je ei option ta tumaloke kontu lobo para so you can come up with your answers okay so what is the best course of action that you will take during this particular point of time etu koribo para tumaloke I am waiting for the comments if you are commenting around okay so jodi kora or else I will say that my final course of action will be guided by my belief in Gandhian ethics to ki asile Gandhian ethics to asile be the change you want to see in the world etu kone koisile Gandhi ji koisile okay and it's a part of the Gandhian ethics that is be the change you want to see in the world etu a important concept hoy okay aru etu thodi moi ki koribo parim first I would like to dispel some misconceptions by finding out first and whether the substance being used is legal or not as well as confirming the coach and other teams members involvement moi sam bostu khosa hoy na khosake hoy na doping or bostu drugs hoy na যদি নহয় মানুহে মোক ভুল কৰিব পাৰে so I will verify it and then I will say that coachৰ involvement আছে নে নাই firstly secondly then I would try to convince my teammates that using drugs is unethical and against the law or not and I would try to persuade them that it might be bad to both for their careers and India's reputation so মই হে কনসার্নস খিনি দিবলে চাম তেখেতসকলক আৰু যদি হে কনসার্নস খিনি তেখেতসকলে দিবলে শুনে then at some point of time they will find my concepts very much motivated so এই বস্তুটো ইয়াতে চাব লাগিব তাৰপিছত if they disagree I would inform the coach of potential sanctions against the ongoing wrongdoings so my stand logo লাগিব against the unethical practices that has been happening in this particular team okay then I would be forced to file a written complaint mentioning the use of illegal narcotics to the team managers and even SAI that is the Sports Authority of India accompanying the contingent if the coach disregards my warning also the Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports and the Minister of Sports এই দুজনকে মই লৈ পেলাই I can directly see that I can file a written complaint to the concerned authorities তো এই বস্তুটো ইয়াতে মই চাব লাগিব second question to আহিব কি reasons for common use of unfair means is in sports কিহৰ কাৰণে this means are basically adopted by these people first factor individual factor desire for winning improvement pain management recovery career longevity and economic gains সোনকালে ফায়দা পাব তাহাৰ হলে okay সোনকালে they will directly go and acquire the habits of playing more okay without any stress eta jagar pa hitu jagale without any particular stress they will directly move around okay chances beshi thake stamina to bahai diye chances beshi thake zikar okay power bahi jay stamina bahi jay to all these things then legal factors weak implementation of anti doping laws by domestic sports bodies and lack of awareness about the rules মানুহে নাজানি যে এটো বস্তু ব্যান হয় এটো বস্তু কৰিব না লাগে and therefore this is the problem that we can see then systematic factors historical prevalence of doping in sports weak anti doping infrastructure sports governance system that is organized system তো এইবিলাক বস্তু থাকে mainly কি হয় systemic factors কিছুমান factors থাকে which will directly come during the time when you are directly preparing for the games আৰু idea দিয়ে আৰু since মানুহৰ knowledge থাকে না থাকে because the sports or the players basically when they are directly dedicating their respective life for the sports purpose obviously they have got less education okay আৰু যেতিয়া less education থাকে তেতিয়াহলে মানুহৰ বস্তুটোৰ প্ৰতি ইমান জাগৰূকতা নাথাকে okay মানুহে নাজানে যে ড্ৰাগছ একচুয়ালি হয় কি ইলিগাল ড্ৰাগছ হয় কি ইলিগালিটিজ হয় কি আনএথিকেল হয় কি এই বস্তুবিলাক বহুতে নাজানে আৰু যেতিয়া নাজানিব দেন obviously ভুল কাম কৰি পেলাই আৰু সেই বস্তুটো আমি কওঁ systemic factors তাৰপিছত আহে socio cultural factors social background and experiences team club sport culture provide perceived efficacy of anti doping system and so on okay so ইয়াতে এটা আমাৰ society আৰু cultural factors থাকে যে already in some point of time there is a trend that মানুহ যোৱা এইবিলাক জেগাত গলে মানুহে ইনজেকশন লয় ডোপিং লয় ড্ৰাগছ লয় so এটা এটা ট্ৰেন্ড বনি যায় আৰু সেই ট্ৰেন্ডটো এটা সোশিও কালচাৰাল ফ্যাক্টৰৰ লগত আমি ৰিলেট কৰিলো আৰু তাৰ কাৰণে obviously people gets motivated তাৰপিছত কাট থ্ৰোট কম্পিটিশ্যন সেইটো এটা হয় আজিকালি জানোৱে কম্পিটিশ্যন লেভেল আজিকালি এনেকুৱা নহয় যে অনলি পঢ়া শুনা অৰ ষ্টাডিজতে আমাৰ কাট থ্ৰোট কম্পিটিশ্যন আছে ইভেন ইফ ইউ সি এবাউট স্পৰ্টছ অ'কে ইয়াতো কাট থ্ৰোট কম্পিটিশ্যন বহুত বেছি অ'কে বহুত বেছি অ'কে মানুহে কিবা পইণ্ট কিমান ইঞ্চৰ কাৰণে হাৰি যায় দে আৰ আউট অফ দ্য বেটল So obviously at some point of time it becomes very difficult and therefore for this particular practice to not happen a cutthroat competition to ami crack koribole ami ki kori asu obviously we are directly aspiring more and therefore we are directly going for the respective opportunities to take even some of the drugs out of it so etu eta amar ahi jabo tasot steps to minimize this practice preventive steps ki hobo spread awareness regarding side effects and related punishment awareness lagibo amar tasot simplify rules okay our list of prohibited substances should be glorified মানুহে জানিব লাগিব okay then cultural change at both domestic level and sports level example high use of doping in athletic and cycling must be addressed okay এটা কৰিব লাগিব support and protection for the whistleblowers যোনে এইবিলাক কৰি আছে supposedly even you at this particular case তো তোমাক মই support আৰু protection provide কৰিব লাগিব improve drug testing technology and increase reliance on investigation okay so এইবিলাক আমি drug testing এইবিলাক আমাৰ technology হয় সেইবিলাকো আমি better কৰিব লাগিব তাৰপিছত invest more resources in anti-doping agencies okay আমি resource তেখেতসকলক দিব লাগিব so that they become serious about this particular problem that we are facing today in our society তাৰপিছত punitive steps কি হ'ব strict enforcement okay তাৰপিছত ban countries accused of corruption to cover anti-doping violations okay তাৰপিছত banishment of coaches involved in it তাহাঁতক অতৰাই দিব লাগে totally promotive steps কি advocating best practices yes factor in ethical conduct and doping ranking in funding mechanisms এইবিলাক আমি কৰিব লাগিব okay so that is all with this particular case study next Ramesh, former struggling actor, was charged with rape but eventually cleared after the jury determined that the accusations were ill-conceived and unfairly targeted. He switched careers and left the circumstances since he was too unable to handle it. Okay, even though it has been long time since the incidents, only his closest friends and family are aware of it. Randomly searches of the internet and his personal information one day out of curiosity, and to his astonishment discovers that the result corresponds to an old newspaper article about the rape accusation he was accused of. Okay, so Ramesh is furious because he wants to be able to reveal the occurrence solely to the people he chooses after all these years. He is requesting the search engine and media outlet to remove results after learning about the European Court of Justice ruling that allow people to ask search engines to remove specific results from charges on their names. So yate mainly issue to asile a right to be forgotten. Okay, so can the right to be forgotten be elevated to the status of a basic right using convincing arguments? So here tomorrow first question to it is also question what references there might be what restrictions if any can be placed on it should search engines be held to any duties in regards to incidents like the one listed above that are no longer relevant okay so কিছুমান নিউজ বিলাক এটা টাইমত বাজিছিলে বা এটা টাইমত আছিল এটা টাইমত তোমাৰ লগত ইনভলভ আছিল so at some point of time আজিও এই বস্তুটো থাকিব লাগে নে নালাগে তো right to be forgotten is a basic right or not that has been discussed in this particular context okay so এই বস্তুটো লাগিব আমাৰ শুনিব লাগে কি এতিয়া so in this case the following problems are at stake main problem to কি right of a person who has previously been cleared of all charges to live a life with dignity okay so এইটো আমাৰ first problem আহিছে to live a life of dignity that means the right to be forgotten internet search engines have a duty to provide accurate information including on historical events without violating a person's right to privacy Tapsat fear that Ramesh would be forced into his past due to the internet publication of facts and his rights should be forgotten. It was an application of extraterritorial laws being used in India. So India is a sovereign country. Belek country ba belek postur ba belek court or law amar yat kenke promulgate hoye ase without accepting by the Indian government. So that is a major cause of concern over this in this particular case study. Okay, so ami etu sabole lagbo. So the propensity for generalizing about people in the Indian culture using erroneous or incorrect facts. So arguments in favor of making the right to be forgotten a fundamental right can be made based on the concerns. However, violations of fundamental rights arise from either individual or governmental behavior. So therefore, there can be no legal action against bias, bigotry or stereotyping. Records of concluded lawsuits must be kept in the public domain for future legal recording and administrative purposes. Furthermore, those who are entitled to knowledge may simply obtain it when necessary. Thus, it is impossible to stop the internet from providing information, and to ensure that anyone searching for information has complete knowledge of any incident, they can add this information and relevant data in settled cases. Ramesh, however, is free to request the government to make the modifications with regard to the web page author or search engines in his individual role. So etia yate kisman concerns ahe je yes, the thing that has been discussed over here that ami forgotten koribo pare nware, because see কিছুমান ক্ষেত্ৰত কিছুমান নিউজ আমাৰ থাকি যায়। ওকে, এতিয়া মই যদি আজি কিবা এটা ক্ৰাইম কৰিছো, if I have done a crime, I will be put behind the bars, investigation will be against me, and obviously I will end up with some form of punishments. But supposedly if there is a misinterpretation of my particular case, মই সেই কামটো কৰাই নাই, but I have been falsely been an accused, okay, and even after some period of time the court has directly acquitted me, মোক উলিয়াই দিলে কেছটোৰ পৰা, okay, because I was not a person who was involved in this case. At some point of time, after 10 years, 20 years, supposedly if the people search about my name, maybe such cases may come in the forefront. But yes, changes must be needed. Changes are needed in this particular context. Change koribo lagibo, search engine ok moi hetu change dekhabo lagibo. Only that point of time only, if it has been declared at that point of time that he is acquitted, he is no longer a criminal, he is living a life with huge dignity, এই বস্তুটো থাকিব লাগিব। So obviously the government can directly go ahead with this process of making such laws which controls such number of search engines. But at some point of time, even with the individual role I have to perform an act so that we can make this issue glorify in the coming times with a correct information. Without a correct information, obviously my right to life and dignity will be totally been misused by the respective search engines, and also it will tarnish the image of mine in the outside world. So even if I tomorrow move on to regions like Europe, they may directly make me like a criminal based on my past references. So obviously at this present instant of time, you should have to go ahead with such number of informations only which are basically useful, which are basically generous, which are basically true, and which are basically needs to be analyzed first, then only should be released first. Because today I have the right to life with dignity, and therefore the right to be forgotten is also one of the prime aspect of the right to life with dignity. So it's a very short case study which you needs to understand by looking on the model answer. Okay? Chalo. You are a team lead in the project. Your junior Mr. A in the team is extremely hardworking and a productive individual who always completes his assignment on time. However, it has been late. It has been brought to your notice that Mr. A has been misbehaving with Mrs. X, who is a junior to him in the team. Mrs. X approaches you and apprises you of her uncomfortable situation in the team, and according to her, Mr. A has been making advances towards her in the wrong way, and on the occasions has been asked for out for dinner, which she disapproved of Mrs. X. Demands immediate action against Mr. A. How will you proceed and what actions will you take to resolve this crisis? So it's basically an alleged movement of what? An alleged scenario of sexual harassment at workplace. Okay, sexual harassment at workplace, which if confirmed may paint the organization in a negative light. Supposedly if I am working in an organization and someone whom I love dearly, whom I assist dearly, if they are involved in such number of acts, though they are a very resourceful person like me, okay, in my organization, so at some point of time I can directly say that here this type of situation may directly make a bad light or a negative light to my particular concerns in this particular organization. So the team spirit may suffer in other female employees of the companies starts to feel insecure. Jury and type of situation. So the claims must be impartially investigated, hence an independent panel which women on its board must be established right away. The Supreme Court in the Vishakha decisions established guidelines in this regard, and Mrs. X should be removed from Mr. A's team for reasons like team restructuring in order to diffuse the tension. So moi tekhetok otorabo paru, otorai pelai, obviously I could land her in a different team so that she could directly have a better place to work without Mr. A. Okay, so a bostuto korile obviously ki hobo, problem to temporarily solve hobo, karon yesterday aku belek konba swali logot ba belek konba womenor logot tekhete aku sexual harassment korbo pare. So therefore this is a short term decision that you should take. Next, since Mr. A is capable employee, no substantial disciplinary action may be taken against him unless guilt is established. However, as a precautionary step, Mr. A may be asked to remain on leave after consulting with him about it during the investigation. suspension kori kari mane rakhibo paro, because see, without knowing about the person is really accused or not, you cannot directly taint him to be an accused person until and unless the concerns which are attached with that particular person is justified. যেটালৈকে justification নাপায় তেতিয়ালৈকে আমি একো কৰিব নোৱাৰো. So that is the main role you have to take in this particular scenario. Okay, so another option is to personally ask other female employees of the organization about Mr. A's behavior style. বেলেগ মানুহক মই সুধিব পাৰো. If the investigating committee determines that Mr. A is guilty, it is best to fire him. Okay, যদি investigative team এটো কথা কয়. And not worry too much about his abilities or productivity, because greatness and efficiency can be easily purchased on the market but not credibility. Okay, কাম কৰা hard working মানুহ আমাৰ কি ইন্ডিয়াৰ নিচিনা country where we have got 1.3 billion people, is it difficult to find someone who is hard working and efficient? कोने कोने में मिल जाएगा, लेकिन at some point of time the credibility needs to be there with every person. सबके साथ credibility नहीं होते हैं, किसी किसी में होते हैं, लेकिन at some point of time you have to manage the credibility aspect rather than going for someone who is well experienced, well trained, professionalism. No, because if he would have gone through all this process, he would have never tarnished his image as well as the organization. So therefore you have to think about that the credibility is supreme when you are going in for such form of works. Okay, so etu ahile yad hai. If the accusations are shown to be untrue, one should restore Mr. A and offers a personal apology to him. Additionally, Mr. X should face legal repercussions in order to convey a clear message to women in the organization that gender is no barrier to promotion. One should eventually install CCTV cameras in the workplace and even name women group leaders in the team. One can also request in writing that the business hold camps on gender sensitization to educate other staff members about the rights of women. Etia azilti moi kom about the Vishaka guidelines. Many people may not know about the Vishaka guidelines. Okay, even ma tumaloko koisu, the people who are listening to me, go and study about the Vishaka guidelines. These are very important guidelines that has been given by the Supreme Court on the basis of sexual harassment at workplace. Okay, so এই বস্তুটো আমাৰ বহুত important হৈ যায় in various number of answer writings also, in also various number of our essay writings also, and even in the case studies also. So এই বস্তুবিলাক ভালকে পঢ়ি লবা, that is very important. Okay, and this is basically some of the ideas that you need to give with this particular case. Okay, done. Chalo, moving on to the next. You work for the government, you learn of your subordinates HIV infection one day. Before you could do anything to stop the news from getting out, it was already being discussed by other employees. They are now putting pressure on you to suspend, fire or transfer him because they think that in his presence in the office you could expose other staff members to the virus. They are so skeptical and fearful that they will not even consider your arguments when you try to convince them that the HIV cannot be transmitted through physical contact. They are all agreed to take a stand and not work until the HIV positive employee is basically suspended. So you have a deadline to meet, but still office people are not ready to work on it. So how are you going to approach this issue? Describe in detail the steps you will take to handle it. So it's a case of choosing something which is associated with your official role, and you also being having a leadership quality, also because you are directly the leader who is basically tackling such situations amongst your colleagues. Okay, so a situation to ahi jay that you should directly take in this particular scenario. So the other that instead of dealing with deciding these circumstances, is more about a problem with the implementation of an already made decision. We must remember that Article 21 of the Fundamental Rights lists in the right of life and personal liberty, and this includes those who are even HIV positive. এনেকে যদি স্টার্টিং এটা মারি দিলা নহয়, এক্সামিনার আধা তাতে ইমপ্রেস হৈ যায়। ওকে, এক্সামিনারে এইবিলাক দেখি খুব ভাল পায়, এইবিলাক বস্তু দেখি খুব ভাল পায়, ৰিলেট কৰিব পাৰে। ওকে, so ইমানখিনি যদি আৰম্ভণি দি দিলা নহয়, I can guarantee you that you will get some of the additional marks. সি যদি ভাবি আহিছিল তোমাক 5 দিম বুলি সি 6 দিব, কোনোবা যদি ভাবি আহিছিল মই 6 দিম 7 দিব, just because of this introduction. So these are very important. Okay, এইবিলাক চাব লাগিব। So Kola, then you can say that they cannot be denied the life or dignity considering this, because beyond a shadow of a doubt, HIV cannot be transferred by touch, food, water or air. Therefore, the office member request is totally unjustifiable. So in addition to being ridiculous, their proposals also unethical, because HIV positive people should be helped at this difficult time rather than being shunned by society. because HIV হোৱাৰ পিছত মানুহৰ কি হৈ যায় obviously mental breakdown হৈ যায়, depression হ'বলৈ ধৰে, okay, body loses the respective ability to control every forms of emotions. So এইখিনি টাইমত যদি অকলশৰীয়া মানুহজনক কৰি দিয়া then obviously it's directly a repercussions to him during his time of disease. তো এইটো বস্তু যেন হ'ব নালাগে, okay. Therefore taking any action against an HIV positive person is neither wise nor legal. However, it is the team leader's responsibility to keep the team cohesive and do their best to allay and suspicions that may exist. So therefore the following actions are preferred. Ki koribo parim? One can begin by informing the staff that a sick person is someone with whom one should empathize, not despise. The support one's claim, one can present certain scientific studies to convince the audience that they are not susceptible to infection. Scientific studies kisman. Okay, মই এটা কনফারেন্স রুমত মই সবকে মাতি মেলি কি কৰিব পাৰো? Obviously I could describe them. মই ক'ব পাৰো তাহাঁতক যে এইটো বস্তু এনেকা নহয়, মই এখন পিপিটি বনাই দেখাব পাৰো তাহাঁতক। দেছা scientific studies আছে, ক'ত দেখিছো ই শুই আছে, okay, he is hugging also but still he is not getting any form of HIV. So এইবিলাক বস্তু আমি দেখাব লাগিব, ঠিক আছে? Despite if the employees insist on their position, one can write their superiors to inform them on the issue and ask them to form a different team with similar skill sets so they can finish the task. মোৰ কাৰণে এটা অৰ্গানাইজেশ্যনত কি কাম? টাস্ক কমপ্লিশনৰ কাম এটা আছে আৰু এটা আছে to manage my team very well. এইটো এটা কাম আছে. So that I need to preserve in this particular aspect. Okay. Then in the meanwhile, a directive can be issued requiring the complaining employee to cooperate with the current management. In addition, anyone who disobeys official directives will face stern disciplinary action. যদি কোনোবাই এখিনি কোৱাৰ পিছতো অফিচিয়েল যিখিনি তোমালোকৰ কথা কোৱা গৈছে সেইখিনি পিছতো যদি কোনোবাই যদি মানা নাই, then at some point of time you can take some of the disciplinary actions against him or her. Okay, that means to remove from his job, okay, or to directly terminate him, okay, or to directly suspend him, or to take some of the pay cuts. Jiti postu koribo para. Okay, এইবিলাক লিখিব নালাগে, but you can say about the disciplinary actions. So therefore one can make every attempt to meet the deadline in the interim. To increase awareness, one could try to plan medical educational camps. Very importantly, making the affected person sit near to the oneself can have a beneficial demonstration effect. So যদি আজি মই সেই মানুহজনৰ লগত ভাত খাওঁ, মোৰ লগতে বহাই লওঁ, okay, সেই মানুহজনৰ লগত যদি মই একেলগে ট্ৰেভেল কৰোঁ, so my team members can also have a boost in their respective mind that yes, sare jodi kori ase ami korato ki na kotha, sararto hobo pare, okay, but sararto thike ase. So at some point of time we can see that this mindset may change the aspect of people towards the HIV patients. Okay, so it was that question. Next ahi gol yare all of I think the numbers are misplaced, okay, question numbers, so all of style over, okay, question numbers, but yes, যেগিটা questions দিয়া আছে হেগিটা question আমি ডিসকাস কৰিব আইজু ইয়াত. So questions number কিছুমান misplaced হৈ আছে, so don't worry with that, okay. Anyways, a seasoned criminal who is facing numerous murder accusations has fled from custody. He is likely to continue killing others while he is evading capture. The local police inspector Mr. A has discovered connections that allow him to pinpoint a criminal's history in the region. Mr. A has built a reputation for being an encounter specialist. Mr. A ki hai encounter specialist. So he is probably going to follow suit this time, mane maribole kori ase. Despite this disapproval of encounter killings as a regular practice, his subordinates fear offending him because of pressure from above. Mr. C, a constable, does not want to take part in an encounter operation, but he has little alternative because he is afraid of losing his job. Given the above situation, consider the following questions. Question to key question: what are the moral issues involved in this situation? And though encounter killings is legally valid, it is morally correct too? If yes, how? First, then, how is Mr. C participating in the encounter morally valid? Okay. So ইয়াত এইকেইটা কোৱেশ্চনছ আছে আমাৰ মেইনলি মৰালিটি কথা কৈছে, ওকে। তো ইয়াৰে কি ক'ব লাগিব ফাৰ্ষ্ট, the following are the moral dilemmas. Even for a seasoned criminal, the right to life and reasonable punishment is unnecessary. যদি লাগিলে সি ক্ৰিমিনেলে হওক, okay, even for him, until and unless the judiciary determines he has got the right to life. So at some point of time we have to see even for this type of criminals who are basically facing such number of punishments. So ami sabo lagibo even eight bostu যে even he is a single criminal, the right to life is one of the main aspect of even a criminal. Then how for humanitarian concerns can be disregarded in order to uphold law and order? Obviously killing someone, okay, just because you have been an encounter specialist, you have got a gun, it does not mean that you can kill anyone. Obviously for giving justice the judiciary is there, you do not have to perform the role of the judiciary. So it was somebody. Okay, then a person who is coerced into carrying out a certain task against their conscience. Okay, and also we can see that extrajudicial executions as a way of life is a just society. As I say about the encounter killings. Encounter killings they are basically extrajudicial killings only. It's like extrajudicial killings. And these extrajudicial killings are basically hampering the society just because today the rule of law is basically not established. So, that's what an individual's in power, discretion to determine the type of justice is given to be a criminal. It is not that person who is basically Mr. A in this case, the police inspector, he is not there to give the justice. To provide justice, it is the hands with the judiciary. He is not there to provide justice. So he could not have the aspect of killing someone with his gun, with his revolver, with his service revolver. He does not have anything. So if the person fires him back, then at some point of time for his self-protection he may fire them back. But obviously not with the motive of killing. So then even in the case of Asmal Ghazal, who was tried and hung, you can directly go with this reference, which is a very important reference. Who was tried and hung after being found guilty. Encounter killing is not legal, only self-defense killing during hostilities, exceptional circumstances involving the protection of innocent lives and maintaining law and order can justify extrajudicial killings. Even for the army, the Indian judicial system forbids such crimes, and the court-martial of the officers responsible for the Patribal killings in 2000 made this point even more forcefully. So police officials act as a shield for innocent individuals in the administrative structure of India, while the judiciary wields the swords of justice. So even ethically it is wrong, since it is creating a precedent that could lead to the execution of innocent people who are awaiting trials in the future in order to end a case or as an act of retaliation. So additionally, as Mahatma Gandhi famously observed, that an eye for an eye makes the world fine. So as a result, killings do not have always put an end to crime in the society. So marile je crime he goi jabo hetu nohoy, ami to bohutok teneke mara goise amar. Today we can see that keteba enuka amar situations hoi ase. Even today we can see that in some point of time Assam police supposedly kunuba polai joa jai keteba polai gole keteba kill and encounter hoi thake ebilak bostu. Okay, so obviously at some point of time it may be not ethically correct. Okay, but enuka nohoy je aji teok mara loge loge crime rokhi goise, criminal bilake crime koribo bad dise, hoise niki bostu nai. So at some point of time it is not something that this extrajudicial killings will directly define you. It is basically something that you need to observe, that an eye for an eye makes the work fine. Tumiu jodi tomak jodi konobai mari ase ba your team is also killing that person, so it is basically what? It is basically both sides. So at some point of time the killings will rise, but the solution will never come. So therefore you have to think about the situation, that as a result killing does not always put an end to the crime in the society. And in the context of the constable involvement in the operation is legal for the reason outlined below. He must put all his impulses aside to fulfill his obligations as a public servant. Because in this situation, the virtue of integrity, that is loyalty to the organization, must be valued more highly than his conscience. His absence will have a negative impact on the team's morale, and his team of employment requires that he obeys order from his superiors without objecting. So, amar jikhini aji team members ase, whoever is your subordinates, at some point of time, if you are given some form of work, be it something which is legitimate or illegitimate, at some point of time you have to follow the orders that has been given to you by your superiors. Yes, jodi grossly illegitimate hoy, then obviously you can directly raise a voice against them. But here it's a veteran criminal, it's a seasoned criminal. So at that point of time, if you have given the order by your senior to assist him, at that point of time, if you are not going to that particular orders, that means you are morally wrong. So you being a constable, you have to follow the orders of your superior, which is basically asked to be right. And you can never question the superior's orders. So yar dostudot, in this particular case, in my sense, I can say that the constable should directly go and assist the inspector in the respective killings. Okay, so a bostu tu yate ahi jabe. Next I go. Pawan is working as an officer in the state government for the last 10 years. As a part of routine transfer, he was posted to another department. He joined in a new office along with 5 other colleagues. The head of the office was a senior officer conversant with the functioning of the office. As a part of general inquiry, Pawan gathered that his senior officer carries the reputation of being difficult. Okay, Pawan felt that the senior officer was belittling him and at times unreasonable. Whatever suggestions given or views expressed by Pawan in the meetings were summarily rejected, and the senior officer would express in the displeasure presence of others. So it became a pattern of boss styles of functioning to show him in a bad light, his shortcomings and humiliating publicly. Okay, so the continuous harassment and public criticism of Pawan resulted in loss of confidence, self-esteem and equanimity. So Pawan realized that his relations with his senior officers are becoming more toxic, and due to this he felt perpetually tensed, anxious and stressed. So his mind was occupied with the negativity and caused him mental torture, anguish and agony. So eventually it badly affected him personally, okay, and even his family life. So he was no longer joyous, happy and other family members, okay. Rather, without reasons, he would lose his temper with his wife and other family members. So the family environment was no longer present. His wife, who was also supportive to him, also became a victim of his negativity and hostile behavior. So due to the harassment and humiliation suffering by him, it damaged his physical and mental health. And what are the options available with Pawan to cope up with the situation? Also, what approach Pawan should adopt for bringing peace, tranquility and congenial environment in the office and home? Okay, so here the options are kotha koise aru approach to kotha koise. Aru last one koise, as an outsider, what are your suggestions for both boss and subordinate to overcome this situation and for improving the work performance, mental and emotional hygiene? Aru ta koise in the above scenario, what type of training would you suggest for officers at various level in the government offices? Okay, so yeah, question to bahut dangor hoy, but answers is not so answers is not so big. Okay, bostu khini eta concept jodi ami buji pau about the role of a person and the role of a public servant. So ami himan khini buji pale, and also you can see about the foundational values of a civil servant. So ekhini jodi ami buji pau, it is more than easy to answer this question. So eta mainly ki hoy aise poor work culture, abuse of power, lack of emotional intelligence and an inability to separate personal and professional life all contribute to this situation. So following options are available with Pawan to cope up with the situation. Ki ahibo? Resign from your existing position. Okay, but resign kora mane ki hoy? Obviously eta situationer pora polai joato. So etu generally hobo na lage. Okay, so resign to ami ki ko eta cowardly aru escapist move. Okay, take a leave of absence from work. So this will provide Pawan a brief reprieve, but when he returns he will encounter the same issue. Thaki jabo issue. Request a transfer to another department. Pawan has minimal power over this administrative choice. এই মাত্ৰহে ট্ৰান্সফাৰ কৰি আনিলে আকৌ ট্ৰান্সফাৰ কৰাটো it's a totally impossible choice. Ignore his superior at work and coordination will deteriorate as well as the caliber of the tasks. This might make him disinterest in his work as a whole. So he যদি সদায় superior involve কৰি থাকে, at some point of time he will have a disinterest towards coming to office. Okay, depression গুচি যাব, অকলে অকলে হৈ যাব, কোনো পাত্তা নিদিব তাক, just because everyone is directly with the rhetorics of the boss. So এই বস্তুটো আমাৰ এটা অপশন থাকিব পাৰে. Address the issues underlying causes which are covered in the following sections. Okay, so ebila bostu amar ki hogal options hogal. Then if I see about the Pawan should develop and exhibit emotional intelligence for bringing peace, tranquility and congenial environment in the office, at home. So this can be done through what? This can be done through office or home ki koribo pare. Introspect his own action to answer 2 questions. Were his actions annoying his senior? What is the behavior of his senior towards other newly transferred colleagues? Do the option. First option to ki that তাৰ একশনস কি নিয়ে সিনিয়ৰক এনয় কৰি আছে নেকি, বেয়া পাই আছে নেকি সিনিয়ৰ, কি যিখিনি কৰি আছে, কি যিখিনি কাম কৰি আছে, আৰু তাৰ বাহিৰে নতুনকৈ যিখিনি মানুহ আৰু আহিছে নহয় সেই মানুহখিনিকো কি ট্ৰিটমেণ্ট দি আছে সেইখিনি এনালাইজ কৰক অফিচাৰ। হোমৱৰ্ক কি কৰিব লাগে? ডিসকাস দ্য ম্যাটাৰ উইথ হিজ ৱাইফ এক্সপ্লেইনিং দ্য ইস্যু দ্যাট হি ইজ ফেচিং ইন দ্য অফিস। হিজ ৱাইফ উইল আন্ডাৰষ্টেণ্ড এণ্ড সাপোৰ্ট হিম অবভিয়াছলি, বাট যদি একো নকয় খং কৰে কি বুজি পাব তেখেতে, একো বুজি নাপায়। দেন ইন দ্য সেকেন্ড পাৰ্ট have an open conversation with his senior to explain his concern and also understand reason for his senior sections. কিহৰ কাৰণে এটো হৈ আছে যদি খোলা খুলিকে কথা পাতো, ওকে বহি পেলাই ভালকে, সো obviously দুইটাই বুজি পাব। ঘৰত কি কৰিব পাৰে? ডেভেলপ এডভাৰ্চিটি কোয়েশ্চন এণ্ড লাৰ্ন টু সেপাৰেট প্ৰফেশনাল এণ্ড পাৰ্সোনাল লাইফ। প্ৰফেশনাল যি হৈ আছে পাৰ্সোনাল লাইফত আমি যে হেতু বস্তুৱে দেখাই আছো হেতু একদম টোটালি বেয়া বস্তু। আমি কি দেখো আজিকালি যে at some point of time মানুহে কি কৰে পাৰ্সোনাল লাইফ টু প্ৰফেশনাল লাইফৰ লগত মিক্স কৰিবলৈ যায়। তো যে পাৰ্সোনাল লাইফ টু প্ৰফেশনাল লাইফৰ লগত মিক্স কৰিবলৈ যায় মানুহৰ সদায় কি হয়, মানুহৰ সদায় কন্টেষ্ট আহে। ওকে, people does not know to balance between a professional and personal life. নিজৰ পাৰ্সোনাল ৰিলেশনস বিলাকে কেতিয়াবা কি কৰে প্ৰফেশনাল লাইফটো হ্যাম্পাৰ কৰে। ওকে, and it's a genuine concern of every person. but this should not be there. যিমান পাৰে professional life আৰু personal life টোক এটা balance কৰি ৰাখিব লাগে আৰু অলপ difference কৰি ৰাখিব লাগে so that you could directly acquire more number of powers once you are choosing something which is power personal, once you are choosing something which is professional. So ইয়াত সেইটো বস্তু আমি কৰিব লাগে কোনে? In this case it is power. Okay, so এইটো course of action কৰিব পাৰে. So this will give opportunity for course correction to power and his senior. Okay, third one এটা কি আছে? If this does not work, bring the matter to the knowledge of a senior's boss and lodge a written complaint. যদি কাম নকৰে কথা বতৰা, then senior গৈ পেলাই এটা complaint দিলে, then obviously লাহে লাহে কাম কৰিব পাৰিব. Okay, then as an outsider, my suggestion to the boss and subordinates are what? Boss of কি কম? Respect your subordinates. They are the productive force behind your organization. If today I am the faculty over here, I am the department head over here, if supposedly if my respective juniors are not doing my work, if I am very much bad towards them, if I am showing partiality towards them, then obviously I as a lead in this organization will never work upon. So hetu karone moi respect koribo lagibo even my subordinates, because they are basically the productive force behind my organization. Then subordinates of Ecom, work with dedication and commitment, but not at the cost of self-respect or self-worth. So obviously, without self-respect and without self-worth or self-esteem, you cannot work in an organization. So here was to mind koribo lagibo. Jodi ebilak hoy ase, raise a voice against such number of illegitimacy. Okay? Tapsot develop emotional intelligence, acts like a leader and a role model. Jate enuka bostu aru karo logot nohoy, you act like a role model. So that everyone may be your benchmark, everyone may be your role model. The saror ta logot hoisile, etu bostu aji mur logot hoisile, to sare ki korisile, aji moyo hetu kame korim. Act like a role model and show your emotional intelligence, how you are controlling your emotions during the time of such number of situations. Work is just a part of the life and not the life. কাম এটা আমাৰ জীৱনৰ পাৰ্ট হয়, জীৱনৰ এটা সংগী হয় কাম, তাৰ বাহিৰে একো নহয়. So I cannot directly decide that this work is my life. I may be able to choose something other if I don't like something in this correct scenario. So today everyone who is doing any forms of service, you can ask many people. Out of 100 you can say that 90 of the people will say that they are not satisfied with the job that they are doing. Any type of situation was there. So therefore you have to categorize that work is just a part of your life and it is not life. It is sabole ko. That's what give constructive criticism, not belittle others. Criticism jodi thake tetia hole constructive dia. Gali galas nokoriba. Gali galas korile manuhok gali dile, manuhok দুটামান বেয়া কথা কলে সেই বস্তুটোক সেটেল নকৰে, কনস্ট্ৰাকটিভ ক্ৰিটিসিজম দিয়ে, তেতিয়া বস্তুটোক সেটেল কৰিব পাৰি. দেন এনজয় স্মল থিংস ইন লাইফ এণ্ড ডু নট লেট ৱৰ্ক ৰিলেটেড টেনশ্যন. সৰু সৰু বস্তু কিছুমান আমি এনজয় কৰিব লাগিব, আৰু যেতিয়া আমি সৰু সৰু বস্তুবিলাক লাইফত এনজয় কৰিম, লাহে লাহে আমি কি পাম? এট সাম পইণ্ট অফ টাইম আই কেন ডাইৰেক্টলি সে that this will make things very much of happier. It will promote goodness in the society. Also, it will promote our enthusiasm to work for the respective organization. So, এই বস্তুখিনি আমি ডিফাৰেন্সটো বুজিব লাগিব, and this is basically achieved in the third part. আৰু এটা কৈ দিওঁ, the D option, that here I would advocate for the officers at government offices to have the following training. কি training পাব লাগে when you are inside the respective office, and mainly it is related to the government offices. First কি है? Sensitivity training. Sensitivity মানে কোন মানুহ কেনেকুৱা, কাৰ লগত কেনেকৈ ট্ৰিট কৰিব লাগে, কাৰ লগত কেনেকৈ বিহেভ কৰিব লাগে, সেই বস্তুটো আমি চাব লাগিব আৰু ইয়াৰ এটা ট্ৰেইনিং পাব লাগিব. ৰোল প্লেইং এক্সাৰচাইজেছ মানে টু কম্প্ৰিহেণ্ড আদাৰ্ছ ইছ্যুজ এণ্ড কনষ্ট্ৰেইণ্টছ বাই ভিউইং দ্য চিনাৰিঅ' ফ্ৰম দেয়াৰ পাৰ্সপেক্টিভ. আজি যদি মই সেই বস্তুৰ জেগাত থাকিলোহেঁতেন, মই কি কৰিলোহেঁতেন, মই কেনেকৈ ট্ৰিট কৰিলোহেঁতেন, এই বস্তুবিলাক মই এটা ভাবি চাব লাগিব. ৰোল প্লেইং এক্সাৰচাইজেছ. আজি যে আমি তোমালোকক ৰোল দি দিওঁ যে ইউ আৰ দ্য সুপাৰিনটেণ্ডেণ্ট অফ পুলিচ, ইউ আৰ দ্য ডিষ্ট্ৰিক্ট কমিশনাৰ, এইবিলাক কি হয়? ৰোল প্লে. তুমি সেইটো জেগাত থাকি পেলাই ভাবিছাচোন তুমি কি কৰিবা? ইউ উইল গেট টু নো হোৱাট আই উইল ডু, হোৱাট আই নট ডু. চ' এই বস্তুবিলাক এটা আহি যায়. তাৰপিছত ট্ৰেইনিং ইন এছাৰ্টিভনেছ, এক্সাৰচাইজিং অথৰিটি উইদাউট পেট্ৰনাইজিং আদাৰ্ছ, এনকাৰেজিং কোঅপাৰেশ্যন এণ্ড টিম ৱৰ্ক. Without a team, you cannot make an organization successful. So therefore, at some point of time, training is essential. And therefore, training in mass is very good for the organization. লগত যদি ট্ৰেইনিং হয় people will have more number of cooperation amongst them and this will increase their assertiveness towards each other. Okay, তাৰপিছত exercise and meditation for maintaining physical and mental health. yoga yoga কৰিব লাগে, exercise কৰিব লাগে. Okay, international yoga day আহিব, সেইদিনাখন সব অফিসতে পাতে. Okay, আমিও পাতিম, will go live also. Okay, আহিবা চাবলৈ আমাৰ ওচৰত, you can join us also. Okay, so at some point of time this is the type of things that you need to enhance. Okay, so এই বস্তুবিলাক কৰিব লাগিব. Developing communication skills, that is both vocal and non-verbal skills. কোৱা আৰু non-verbals, body posture, body image, okay, body language, সব কৰিব লাগিব. So এইবিলাক অকমান ট্ৰেইনিং দিব লাগিব. That's what this activity aims to improve perspective positively, encouraging inclusivity and create a productive workplace atmosphere. So these are the final things that you need to decide once you are at the workplace, and that is defining your respective work culture. Next, Shraddha recently landed a well-paying job in a reputed company in Bangalore. She has an ambition to become a civil servant and she is working hard towards it. Recently, she wrote an entrance for Prime Minister Rural Development Fellowship and got selected as its fellowship. Though she received better salary in the present job, she wanted to accept the PMRD fellowship and work for it. She will be posted in a faraway state from her present location. The district where she will be posted is a sensitive region severely affected by Naxal problem. Few days ago, few civil servants and policemen were killed by Naxals in ambush. Shraddha's parents don't want to leave the present job. Her boyfriend, with whom her marriage is fixed, is also not supporting her. She thinks that this fellowship would equip her with skills needed to work as an IAS officer in case she gets selected in the future. So if you are in Shraddha's place, what decision would you take? And do you think it is the right on her boyfriend and parents' part to say no to her decision? Critically comment. Okay. So yate eta situation ahi goise jot Shraddha jabo bicharise sakori koribole, but it's a left wing extremism area, LWE area. So tate jabo lage ne na lage. Okay, it will reply comment ahise. So you have to directly post your views. Okay, also you have to think on the side of your the parents of Shraddha as well as her boyfriend. Okay, so etu bostu ami sabo lagibo. So yate I must choose the best course of action from the following if I am in Shraddha's place. Ki ki koriba? Listen to my heart. মোৰ যদি যাব বিচাৰিছে যোৱা গুছি যোৱা. Okay, মোৰ যদি যাব বিচাৰিছে মই যাম আৰু মোৰ নিচিনা মানুহটো যাবই যাব. So go for the fellowship. It would give me eye-opening experience and a great standing for the future IAS job. Okay, listen to parents and boyfriends. Not go for the fellowship as it looks too risky. What is the point if I go there and get killed? My IAS dream would anyway be shattered. Okay, so এই বস্তুটো আহি যায়. Can negotiate with fellowship organizers to give me a safer place to do work, preferably closer to home. I could cite the fears of my family, yet expresses how passionate I am about working for the fellowship. Okay, so this you can see about the three options which you need to take in this particular context. Okay, so of the above options, I would first go for option C, as the middle path would keep not just my near and dear ones happy, but I would also learn the nitty-gritties of life in rural areas, which would ultimately help me if I become a future IAS officer. So this should be subjected to the condition that fellowship organizations respond positively to my request. That is the middle path. মই নোযোৱাকে এটা ৰিকুৱেষ্ট কৰিব পাৰো যে মোক এটা বেলেগ জেগা দিব পাৰে নেকি, শিফট কৰাব পাৰে নেকি. Okay, so in this case organizers say I must take only the given posting to the far away Naxal area, that can security would be given to all fellows. Then I would explain to my loved ones that even after my request I am getting to go to the original place only. I would assure that I would be safe as explained by organizers, that I would convince them and also follow my dream at the same time. Okay, so yate hey kotha to ahi jay. So in case organizers must take only the given posting to the far away Naxal area, okay, that security will be given to all fellows, then I would explain to my loved ones that even my request I am getting to go to the original place only. So যদি organizer কয় যে নাই posting change হ'ব নোৱাৰে, but yes আমি ভালকে আপোনালোকক security দিম. So obviously যদি ভালকে security দিয়ে to all the fellows, then obviously you should directly go and accept this position. And at that point of time, you are satisfying your loved one also your respective family. Okay, so that is the very first option that you need to take in this particular question. Thumbs up. Parents will generally say no to such a decision as they would like no risks to their wards. As they have given birth, they are very protective, especially for a girl child in Indian context. This is justified on the part as it is their natural reaction. The only need to be lovingly coaxed by talking about her ambition, giving full assurance that government of India will give full security and that she should always be in touch with them by phone. Okay, so এই বস্তুটো বুজিব লাগিব ইণ্ডিয়ান কনটেক্সটত. ইণ্ডিয়ান কনটেক্সটত আমি জানো ছোৱালী মানুহ ৰাতি 6টা-7টা বজাত দেৰি হৈ গ'লে কিমান দিগদাৰি হৈ যায়, আৰু সৰুকে যদি প্ৰব্লেম এটাই হৈ যায়, obviously safe and security আমি সবে বিচাৰো ফৰ আ গাৰ্ল. Okay, so therefore এইটো কনটেক্সট আহিব আমাৰ ইণ্ডিয়ান কনটেক্সটত. So yet one would expect the boyfriend being of same generation to understand the dreams of Shraddha. He should be more broad-minded in this case, as even in the future, if she became an IAS officer and got posted in Naxal district, she would have to handle it. So he should rather support her from now onwards in her decision. Okay, so যদি same generation হৈ আছে, ইয়াতো কোৱা নাই কোন generation, okay, obviously আমি নাভাবো যে সেই ছোৱালীজনী শ্ৰদ্ধা এজ ছোৱালী তেখেতে বহুত তেখেততকৈ ডাঙৰ কোনোবা ল'ৰা এজ আ হাজবেণ্ড চুজ কৰিছে. So I am expecting that they are, since he is also unmarried, so obviously they are from the same generations. And obviously if present generations peoples are only something like that, then obviously at some point of time what and how we can directly help as a public or as a civil servant, how we can help the people basically affected by the Naxalites. এই বস্তুখিনি আমি চাব লাগিব, and therefore he also should be broad minded and should accept her clause and should pursue and should pressure her to pursue her them in the next coming times. Okay, so এই বস্তুটো আছিলে in the context of what you should think about the decision and what her boyfriend as well as her family should go ahead with the process of making the posting of Shraddha in this Naxalite area. Okay, importantly. Next, you are posted as a district development commissioner in a region which has high rates of child malnourishment. For last few months, you have been receiving complaints regarding poor quality of food given under midday meal scheme. Responding on the complaints, you found that most of the meals failed the calorie test as per the criteria under the scheme. Some vendors supply poor quality deliberately as it is more profitable, but many others don't have the right knowledge of which food contains what nutrients. So calorie knowledge is also less among children and teachers. Special instruments are required for exact calorie counts, which are not available in the abundance. Also, limited suppliers and their blacklisting them could completely stall the process. So analyze the problem and explain various repercussions of it. Also explain what steps you can take in order to effectively resolve this problem. Okay, so that is the concern that you need to take in this particular analysis. Okay, just a second. Okay. So the situation presents the difficulty in implementing a socially important scheme. When corruption is prevalent and people are less aware, it will have a huge repercussion on health and learning abilities of the children. Okay, so here the case basically says about what? It basically says about the developmental scenarios that we can see today very less in a society which is basically growing like us today. Okay, in every forms of society that we can see that today everywhere the problems are basically rising. Okay, and these problems directly creates some better activities or better concerns towards making something very much of less protective. So এই বস্তুখিনি আমি অকমান চাব লাগিব যে what are the concerns that are associated with this particular issue. So ইয়াতে being a DDC you have to see about that the situation presents the difficulty in implementing a socially important scheme when corruption is prevalent and people are less aware. It will have a huge repercussions on health and learning abilities of the children. So if poor quality of food is continued to be served, then rate of malnourishment among the children will increase and enrollment and retention ratio will decrease. Okay, then also a right to education of children and duty of the parents to educate their children will not be fulfilled. Okay, কারণ মানুহ যদি বেমাৰী হয় then obviously কেনেকৈ তাহাঁতে পঢ়িব, তাহাঁতৰ গ্ৰোথ কেনেকৈ হ'ব, obviously নোৱাৰে. Then since the region is backward, social justice as promised in the preamble of our constitution will not be done. Region to কি হয়, backward region হয়, তাতে social justice কেনেকৈ promote হ'ব, হ'বই নোৱাৰে. That's a great concern. So it may also widen the trust deficit between government institutions and people. So মানুহৰ যিটো এটা ধাৰণা হয় গভৰ্ণমেণ্টৰ প্ৰতি, এই ধাৰণাটো কি হ'ব, লাহে লাহে বেয়া হ'বলৈ ধৰিব, and the gap will directly widen out. Okay, then mandating status quo about the act of cheating by vendors may encourage them to perform such acts repeatedly. So যদি মই একো actions নলওঁ তেতিয়াহ'লে এই কামটোকে আকৌ চলি থাকিব. Okay, so মই actions ল'বই লাগিব, mandatory. This would make it difficult for India to achieve the SDG goal 2, which calls for ending the hunger and achieving the food security. Yes, very correct option. এনেকুৱা টাইপৰ বস্তু লিখিব লাগিব SDG 2 and all. Okay, so SDG কিটা ভালকে চাই লবা, sustainable development goals. As the suppliers are limited, blacklisting them will also reduce the supply of food, which will make difficult for the district administration to run the scheme. Lack of special instruments for calorie count should not become a limitation for a civil servant. Dedication and spirit of service should be shown to solve the issue and preserve the probity of his or her office. So ইয়াতে মই চাব লাগিব যে যদি মোৰ lack of special instrument আছে for calorie count, it should not become a limitation for a civil servant. He should go for some of the innovative solutions at the field. Without going for innovative solutions, then why he is basically a civil servant? He could be a person who does not have got any role to perform, being a public servant. So at that point of time, this issue needs to be tackled well with proper dedication and spirit of service. So as a DDC, it is my duty to address the issue taking all stakeholders in consideration. First, all vendors should be given strict warning to stop the adulteration, and likely punishments are there. Okay, first, whole supply chains must be made transparent to identify the point at which adulteration happens. That information or communication technology can be used in this regard. A random audit of food inspector should be done. Okay, that is, the food inspectors should directly come up and they should directly define what needs to be done, what not needs to be done, which are the food that are adulterated, which are the food that needs to be supplied. Okay, then citizen charter can be used in every school. Vendors have to give all the details, including grievance redressal mechanisms also. Okay, so citizen charter কি উল্লেখ কৰে যে মই কি ধৰণৰ বস্তু দি আছো. Okay, transparency. Okay, transparency to basic হয় কোত citizen charter থাকিলে. Then awareness campaign and knowledge dissemination to make vendors and children aware of proper calories requirement and which food shall provide the same. Body mass index BMI এইবিলাক আমি ক্যালকুলেট কৰিব লাগিব. কিমানখিনি অ্যানামিক পেশেন্ট থাকে, কিমানখিনি আন্ডাৰনাউৰিছড পৰে, কিমানখিনি মালনিউট্ৰিশনত পৰে, এইবিলাকৰ বস্তু চাৰ্ট এখন যদি প্ৰিপেয়াৰ কৰি আমি যদি চিপকাই দিওঁ বা আমি যদি পঢ়া শুনাত সোমাই দিওঁ ক্লাছ এটা লৈ পেলাই স্পেচিয়েল, then obviously we can make the people aware about such number of activities, taking even the help of the local self-government, be it the panchayats. Okay, then graduates and teachers from nearby areas can be motivated to come and their vendors and educated students on nutrition. Lage, okay, mainly under the scheme of Vidyanjali. Okay, free access. মানুহে গৈ পেলাই অলপ চলপ পঢ়াব পাৰে স্কুলত গৈ পেলাই. Okay, even we as a like institution or an organization, we are basically working under the IIT program disseminated by the SSA to go ahead with some of the schools across the state for various number of social programs. আমি যারা সফট স্কিল শিখাই আছো, আমি যারা লাইফ স্কিল শিখাই আছো, তো এইবিলাক বস্তু আমি কৰিব লাগে under the Vidyanjali scheme. That is very required. So ethical training of vendors can arrange the inculcate them the spirit of public service, very important. Okay, so এনেকুৱা টাইপৰ যদি আমি প্ৰসেস বিলাক কৰিব যাওঁ, okay, যে আমি ethical training দিব লাগে অকমান, okay, অলপ কিছুমান আমি দায়িত্ব দিব লাগে তাহাঁতক যে নিউট্ৰিশন লেভেলত do কৰিব লাগে, okay, লাইক কি কয় খানা এনেকুৱা দিব লাগে, এইটো বস্তুত বেছি প্ৰটিন থাকে, এইটো বস্তুত বেছি ভিটামিন থাকে, এই বস্তুবিলাক যদি আমি ক'বলৈ যাওঁ, then obviously at some point of time we can encourage the people to go for something which is basically good for the children as compared to something which has got no proteins, no vitamins, nothing. Okay, so a process can use that will be more than sufficient for you to address the issue that has been faced by these children under the government schools. Chalo, lastly, one of the many unintended consequences of the growth of internet and information technology is to increasing exposure of people towards pornography, okay, and adultery. This is causing serious problems in many contexts. Analyze this problem in detail and indicate not only the socio-economic but also the emotional and cultural factors responsible for this problem, and also distinctly bring out why this tendency of watching pornography and detecting your spouse is increasing. What effects does it have on people across different age groups, and what should be the role of government in this regard? So here mainly mainly the issue is with pornography. Okay, so here the issue that how pornography is today ridden inside the society. Even after banning the pornography sites, how people are directly making an access towards the issues associated with pornography. How we can today directly access the respective sites via using some of the different URLs. So এই বস্তুখিনি আমি চাব লাগে. Without knowing about such things, it may be very much difficult for us to engage these activities associated with pornography. Okay, so ইয়াতে কি কৈছে, why this tendency of watching pornography and cheating your spouse is increasing? Spouse মানে কি? Obviously wife. Okay, so এইটোৱে obviously আমাক কি কৰি আছে? They are making people to go more towards some attractive women who are directly can be seen in this pornographic sites. So they are more attracted towards such men and they will lose interest on their respective spouse. So এই বস্তুটো কৈ আছে. So ইয়াতে কি আহিছে? Then you can say what feasible steps can you suggest? Is there other question? So now you have to just introduce about this information. That the internet and information technology has reduced the human efforts a lot, but left humans with a number of challenges. One of the challenges is pornography, which has affected not only adults but also children, as the accessibility, affordability, and anonymity provided by the wife have put adult content right at their fingertips. More as about supposedly various number of apps. Okay, I can say about the OTT platforms. There are various number of apps or OTT platforms where pornographies are given live. Live bully record. So today anyone can have an access towards this particular sites. There is no problem with it. That 18 plus bully koi. Yes, my 18 plus or dabai plan. What is the issue with that? So there is no control today on the availability of this particular sites, and therefore we can see that many number of people are attracted towards such phenomena. And এই বস্তুটো বাহি গৈ আছে, এটো কমি যোৱা নাই। গভর্নমেন্টে বহুতখিনি pornographic sites ban কৰিছে, ban কৰাৰ পিছতো এটো বাহি গৈ আছে। And it is one of the main reason why we can see such number of scenarios even today more in India, and which is even leading to various number of crimes. Okay, এই বস্তুৰ কাৰণে rapes হৈ আছে এটো কাৰণে pornography কাৰণে। তো ইয়াতে মই ক'ব পাৰো that there are various socio-economic factors responsible for this. First কি হয়, technological development makes computer mobile phone cheaper. এটা টাইমত মোবাইল ফোনৰ যিটো দাম আছিল, আজি সেই দামটো আছে নে নাই? It has made something which is 50% to 60% cheaper. আগতে যদি 100 টকাত কিবা এটা বস্তু পায়, আজিকালি এই বস্তু 40-50 টকাত পাই যায়। So this is directly the revolution of technology. That's increase awareness need of the internet. Today, because of internet, everything is getting increasingly disseminated towards people. So internet by IoT, Internet of Things, বেয়াও কৰি আছে, ভালো কৰি আছে। So এই ফ্যাক্টৰত আমি চাব লাগিব যে how this could be categorized, how this could be improved, how this could be stopped to affect some of the larger mass of people. তাৰপিছত আমি চাব লাগিব যে affordability and accessibility of internet in every corner of the society. আজি when we were talking about something which is associated with the internet, যেটা মই ইন্টারনেটৰ কথা কওঁ, আজি ইন্টারনেটটো এফোর্ডেবল হয় না আমাৰ কাৰণে? 1.5 GB data per day, 1 GB data per day, আকৌ ৰিচাৰ্জ কৰিবলৈ 1 GB আমাৰ 18 টকা 19 টকা লাগে, এফোর্ডেবল হৈ আছে। কোবাত গলে আমি ফ্ৰী ওয়াইফাই পাই আছো, ৰেলৱে ষ্টেচন ফ্ৰী ওয়াইফাই, এয়াৰপোর্ট গলে ফ্ৰী ওয়াইফাই। সো এটো কি হৈ আছে? এফোর্ডেবল হৈ আছে, and therefore such uses. তাৰপিছত transition of the society. Societies are slowly turning towards being modern. Societies বিলাক লাহে লাহে traditional society পৰা modern society ফালে গৈ আছে। Okay, western society এটা culture আহি আছে। So এই culture বিলাকত obviously these things are very much of legalized. Okay, I can say about the porn stars, they are very much legalized in the western countries. হয় না? That is the thing. Then ignorant behavior of parents towards their children. Today parents are more engaged and more busy towards their particular work profile, and therefore they are not engaged towards their respective children. Our children কি কৰিব? Obviously they are going for this adult contents. Importance given to the social well-being of the children rather than ethical being. Social status student হৈছে কেঁচা, কিন্তু তাহাঁতৰ যিটো ethical being হয়, how do you need to be ethical, how you can describe yourself to be ethical, এইবিলাক নাচায়। So the importance কাক দিয়া গৈছে? Social well-being of দিয়া গৈছে, how you should thrive in the society, but how in what way you should thrive in the society, that is not defined. So এই বস্তুটো ইয়াতে আমি চাব লাগিব। So emotional cultural factors কি হ'ব? Commodification of women. Women is seen as an object of satisfaction. আহি গ'ল। Change in the nature of the family from joint family to nuclear family. বেছি হৈছে nuclear family. Okay. Then content of movies and TV serials have been changed, which affects the emotional component. আগতে যেটো কন্টেন্ট আছিল, এতিয়া যেটো কন্টেন্ট টোটালি বলি গৈছে। আজিকালি কিবা এটা ইস্যু আমি দেখো যে obviously it ultimately leads to some number of sexual content. এইবিলাক বস্তু বাঢ়ি গৈছে। Then lack of process of discipline and imbibing values in the schools and colleges. আজিকালি schools and college বাদ দিয়া, even if you schools college বুলি নকওঁ মই, schools বুলি কওঁ, if you go to some of the schools, okay, basically go from class 1 to 5, even they know about what is love and emotions and all this. Even they don't know about such things. And when they directly turn out to be some of the teenager is to take a drag going, they are directly there. It's basically something which is known that তোহতে যদি এটো কাম নকৰ বা তই যদি এটো কাম নকৰ ময়ো নকৰো, তই ভাত নাখালে ময়ো নাখাও। So they are becoming more in this particular scenario when they are directly coming in from schools to colleges. They are fighting each other just because of one boy or a one girl. এইবিলাক বেছি হৈছে আজিকালি. Okay, so these things because of lack of process of discipline and imbibing values in the schools and colleges. Increase in the moral deficit and also lack of emotional intelligence. মানুহে emotions control কৰিব নোৱাৰে. Because of the lack of emotional intelligence, people may often go to the sort of murders. যে how तुम मेरी नहीं हो सकती तो तुम किसी की नहीं हो सकती. এইবিলাক বস্তু আহি যায়. So যদি এইবিলাক বস্তু আহি যায়, then obviously at some point of time, it is directly the lack of emotional intelligence as well as the lack of some form of deficit that you have towards your being. So এইবিলাক বেছি হৈ আছে, deficit বাঢ়ি গৈ আছে, মানুহৰ moralityটো নোহোৱা হৈ গৈ আছে, morality deficit. So এই বস্তুটোৱে আমাক hamper কৰি আছে. So in the first question, if you say why this tendency of watching pornography and cheating your spouse is increasing, because content is available free of cost, it increases number of people watching it. Also, there are no regulations as such which can deter one from watching it. Along with this factor, more encouragement to this tendency may get from the movies which shows intimate scenes. This may bring an emotional change in a human being and increases his or her desire to watch porn movies. Okay, so এইটো বস্তু হৈ আছে আজিকালি টিভি সিৰিয়েলছ যতে ততে সিৰিয়াছ বিলাকত আজিকালি দেখাই দিয়ে some of the intimate scenes. So এইবিলাকৰ কাৰণে কি হৈছে মানুহৰ মাথাৰ যেটো এটা কন্ডিশন আছে সেই কন্ডিশনছ বোৰ চেঞ্জ হৈ আছে. And once this conditions is basically changing, I can say that slowly and slowly people's approach towards even his spouse, okay, even his particular near and dear ones will directly change. Okay, so pornography is one of the factors which may lead to adultery. It's an extramarital sex that is considered objectionable on social, religious, moral or legal grounds. Due to emotional and behavioral change and also increased desire and expectation caused by watching pornography, there are chances of cheating with spouse. When men use porn, they tend to report lower levels of sexual intimacy in their real life relationships. So there can be tendency to withdraw emotionally from the relationship. So obviously, when porn basically says that means I can say that there is a very less sexual intercourse between the husband and the wife. And at that time period, obviously the husband will lose interest on his wife and he may directly turn out with a different lady or a person whom he will directly go with a particular intimacy. আৰু এইবিলাক কিহৰ কাৰণে হৈ আছে pornography কাৰণে হৈ আছে. Okay, so ইয়াত সেইটো বস্তু আহিলে তাৰছত what effects does it have on the people across different age groups কি কি হ'ব for children in a young age. Priorities of the children should be education on sports. They get addicted to pornography due to easy accessibility. আৰু তেতিয়া কি হৈ যায় obviously the attitude towards the other gender, okay, it directly changes. So যেতিয়া ছোৱালী দেখে তো obviously ছোৱালী দেখাৰ লগে লগে the people's attitude with the respective girl is directly changing. So she is basically seen as an object rather than a person. So তাই utilize কৰিবলৈ চায় through various means which may often leads to kidnappings, often leads to rapes. Okay, so এই বস্তুটো হয়. So these leads to heinous crimes like rape and tarnish whole life of the both victim and accused. If the children above age of 12 indulge in the unsafe sexual relationship, then they have suffered from the disease like AIDS. Okay, বেমাৰ হয় বহুত. Okay, for adults it can ruin marriages, lead to sexual addiction or unhealthy behaviors and encourage sexual aggression. This results into divorce, domestic violence, marital rapes, adultery, stalking, etc. It may also lead to lower self-esteem, poorer relationship quality and lower sexual satisfaction among people. In recent years, adultery increases the crimes like acid attacks, which may encourage the other victims of adultery to demonstrate the same activities. So, basically, because of these adultery practices, I mean, acid attacks, very common. Okay, in some of the hinterland areas. Nowadays, it is becoming very common in the city areas also. So, এইবিলাক বস্তু বেছি হৈ আছে. Okay, আৰু এই বস্তুবিলাক বেছি হোৱাৰ লগে লগে obviously কি হ'ব society crime বাঢ়িব আৰু যেতিয়া crime বাঢ়িব instabilities বাঢ়িব law and order deteriorate. Okay, so at the age more than 50 or 55 we came to case of sexual abuse of younger family members. So this is changing the culture of the family and making the family of human being like the family of animals. So for animals there is no a common partner that they will choose to go for sexual intercourse, but here we are obviously choosing someone for a lifetime to go for such number of activities. So at the older age, when people have directly tendency, because আজিকালি আমি দেখিছো the older age people are also slowly getting active because of the exposure nature of a respective girl. So at some point of time, even the older people may directly get attracted to its younger members, and they may often leads to some form of crime, which may leads to rape, which may leads to sexual abuse, which may leads to molestations, so on. So এই বস্তুখিনি আমি তিনটা এজত কৰিব লাগিব young age, adult age and even the age more than 50 or 55, which is generally considered to be a age of senior citizens. Okay, so এইখিনি বস্তু তোমালোকে যদি কৈ দিয়া that will be more than sufficient for you. Then what should be the role of the government in this? So as a duty of the government, To prevent the citizens from dangers, they have to take steps against pornography without violating the rights of the people. Government cannot prohibit as it will come under the right to privacy, but only can regulate it. So thus at first a separate regulatory body should be set up by the government by enacting a law for the regulation of the pornography. So deviant pornography must be banned on all IPs, internet protocols. Sex education highlighting the ill effects of pornography must be made compulsory in schools and colleges. Campaign for parents to look after their children's behavior and activities keenly. Parents should have a talk with their wards to prevent them from the addiction of pornography. So এইবিলাক কেতিয়া বাহে যেতিয়া পেৰেণ্টছৰ কন্ট্ৰোল নাথাকে okay parents are too busy with their respective lives and parents does not want because we know that talking about sex today in our society is really a taboo এটা taboo বুলি ভাবে okay কেতিয়াবা কোনোবাই কো পাৰে নেকি যে ঘৰত আজি মোক সেক্সৰ জ্ঞান দিছে সেক্সৰ এডুকেশ্যন দিছে no so it is directly seen as a taboo in our society and that is the main role why we are facing such number of crime today why we are facing such number of problems today in our society আৰু না আমাৰ স্কুলত ভালকে পঢ়ায় because obviously in this school time period we can see that reproduction chapter is often skipped by our teachers because they think that this is basically a taboo so এই বস্তুবিলাক থাকে so এই বস্তুবিলাক যেন হ'ব নালাগে we should go with more awareness we should go for more education so that at some point of time we can make these people inculcate more towards this sex education and therefore there will be no crime and even our girls or women's are can be protected in the coming times from the people who directly see them as an objectification. Okay, so that is the type of things that you should decide in this particular case study. Okay, so that is with this particular discussion that we can see with respect to the case study that we have directly analyzed in this 4.3. Okay, so we are starting with this full length test from paper 1 to paper 6 in both the online and the offline mode. And this is that will be the perfect replica of the APSC MAINS 2022. Same day, same time. Test yourself accordingly, and we'll be going with some of the expert analysis of the question and answer. So you can register now by the scan code. So this is the basically the timetable. Okay, you can follow us via YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, as well as this is our particular website, and also you can call it by our number 9127515541 for some further queries. So this will be on 17th, 18th and the 19th June of 2023. Also, we'll be starting with the dedicated associations. Okay, so these associations will be from 15 minutes where we will give you a brief about what to be discussed in an essay and what not to be discussed. Okay, key important point discuss korbo lage key na lage hekine ami discuss korim. Also, we'll go with some of the important previous year questions from APSC as well as UPSC, and also we'll go with some of the philosophical as well as current affairs related issues. Okay. So obviously this will be from 20th May 2023. Then also we'll be going just like today. We'll be going also with some of the dedicated ethics case study. Okay. So these are the free sessions. Will be live on YouTube. Okay. Where we'll be identify the dilemmas like today. We'll be strategize your answer and also we'll try to score maximum marks. What needs to be done? So you can register here and you can join us via this channel of YouTube CSAP, that is Civil Service Achievers Point, and this will be coming out from 20th May of 2023. Okay, so here we'll take some 30 case studies from the last 5 years and even this will be less than 15 minutes. Okay, so everything will be covered under this particular section. Okay, so that is all from today on our side. So if you have any queries or any doubts, you can visit our site, scan this code, or you can call us by the number 9127515541. Okay, so that is all from today's in our ethics case study. That's all. Have a good day. Thank you all for joining us in this particular session. Goodbye.